Hey, welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. I'm going to be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics, and fired up to do it here before the rain comes, Wade.
Yeah, glad to be with you, Mo. Good to see everybody. Producer Mark Rogers is in the house as well. We got the full crew assembled, and we got our rain gear out. We got our weather detector, we got our lightning detectors out, and we're trying to fend off Mother Nature as best we can here for the next little bit.
Yeah, certified athletic trainers are going to have their hands full at Friday night football games tonight, detecting that lightning and dodging it and all of that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fortunately, I don't have to be out in it because most of my games got played last night. But big show today. In the second hour, we will be visiting with Chris Lee from South 16. Speaking of 16, the number 16 Vanderbilt Commodores taking on Auburn this weekend at home. I think it's homecoming down at Vanderbilt this weekend. So we will check in with Chris, get some thoughts on the Commodores heading into that matchup with a Auburn team that's obviously going through a little upheaval, and what else is going on across the Southeastern Conference football landscape this weekend. So always fun when we can catch up with Chris. Looking forward to doing that in the second hour. In the next segment, we will be joined by our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams from WCYB-TV out of Johnson City. The season finally wrapped up this past weekend. We will get her thoughts on that. I don't think she was available for David and Calvin on Wednesday, but their loss, it's our gain. We will have Heather in the next segment breaking down NASCAR, both this past weekend and the season as a whole. Looking forward to that. Also, we'll talk a little NFL, of course, including a little Thursday night look in. We'll talk a little Predators, very little. Some baseball, plenty to get into. And in our final segment, it will be the Wonder Slate, as Wade and I give you our 10 weekly winners from the college football landscape. So stick around for that and, do with that information what you will. So, again, big show, big weekend, a lot of high school football last night as we got the state playoffs started. They will continue tonight, weather permitting. We'll see how that goes.
And hopefully tonight only. As you like,
hopefully tonight only. Yeah, that's a nice little caveat to throw in there because we don't want this leaking over into Saturday if at all possible. So hopefully those that were not proactive and played last night, hopefully they won't have to pay for that tonight. So ideally those games get played tonight, and
it is the playoffs too, though, Mo. There's I'm going to withhold the schools, but there's at least one or two schools that they knew Mother Nature was coming in tonight, and they said maybe that helps our chances of going down. Going down to Lewisburg and maybe getting a win. So shout out to Liberty Creek, who said, we ain't budging. We gonna play one way or another on Friday. Weather be damned.
Well, we talked about a Class 4 Mr. Football winner from last year who was not a semifinalist this year, Tyler Thompson. Maybe the Wolves decided that the best defense against Marshall County's throw game was to make them throw a wet ball.
You would think.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying. That's a little gamesmanship there. Bill Alexander and the folks over there at Liberty Creek, maybe they know a little something. That might not be the only place something like that took place either.
Guaranteed not. As a lot of schools, especially here in the mid-state, we're going to get pounded more with the weather than west or east. But some of these schools in Middle Tennessee, we see you and we know what you're up to.
You ain't pulling nothing on us. This ain't our first rodeo. Here we go. That said, Wade, let's go ahead and get started with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Rundown time is here, boys and girls, and we go to the gridiron for Thursday night high school football action. Results in the opening round of the state playoffs. We begin with Antioch picking up a 42-13 win over Shelbyville. It was BGA trouncing Notre Dame 56-7. Beach with a 38-6 win versus Lawson. Blackman slipping by Gallatin 24-9. The scoreboard was popping down in Columbia as 70 points for Columbia. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, 42 for East Hamilton. Not sure what has happened to the vaunted East Hamilton defense from years ago, but impressive win.
Let me just tell you something. I was there for that when we got coverage at MainStreetMurray.com. 2 99-yard kickoff returns by Class 5A Mr. Football semifinalist Jaden Haywood. That dude is the real deal. But Columbia Central rushed for 685 yards.
Yeah, woof. Not your mom and dad's East Hamilton squad, but props to Columbia on a big win. Speaking of big wins, folks, East Nashville cruised over Adamsville last night, 41-18. I cannot believe what I'm about to say, but East Robertson gave up some points last night. They defeat Decatur County Riverside 38-7. Still a nice win for the Indians there. Fairview all over Stratford last night, 42-21. Friendship Christian 49-7 over Tipton Rosemark. We mentioned, I don't know if this is last night or if this is tonight, Mo, but we told you about the Giles County forfeit over Chattanooga Central. So whichever night you put it in the books, it's a win for the Bobcats via forfeit in the opening round. CAK defeating Good Pasture 42-35. Green Hill with a 42-14 win over Smyrna. And a nice victory, a little regular season revenge victory for Joe Burns, who defeated Whitwell last night 13-7.
Also in Division II AAA, Montgomery Bell Academy with a 44-14 win over Memphis University School. Eagleville defeated McEwen 42-28. Mount Pleasant, for the second time this season, defeats East Hickman, this time 28-0. Nolensville with a 30-6 win over Portland. And congratulations to first-year Knights coach Scott Stidham picking up his 100th career victory there for Nolensville. Well, not his 100th for Nolensville, but you get the idea. Oakland with a 42-10 win over Cookeville. Pearl Cone also hitting the 70-point mark, 70-7 over Battle Creek last night. Ravenwood 37, Cane Ridge 14. Number 4 seed Lawrence County goes on the road, and I don't know how you get from Lawrenceburg to Dayton, but it was a happy trip back for the Wildcats, 38-20 over the Golden Eagles. Richland 48, Collinwood 13. Spring Hill leads by 24, blows all of it, hangs on to defeat White House 41-34. Springfield with a 35-7 win over Creekwood. Centennial 38, Station Camp 28, CCCHS. Sycamore with a 30-27 win over White House Heritage.
That was another one of them 4-over-1s last night, Mo. Nice win for Sycamore.
Oh, okay.
Defeated White House Heritage for a second time in the season. Knocked them off 2 weeks ago, knocked them off last night.
That's a bad draw for Heritage. Women's basketball action from Thursday. North Alabama with a 75-42 win over Fisk. Lipscomb defeated Sewanee 105-46. Middle Tennessee State 73. St. Louis 55. Blair Bogus with her second double-double in as many games for the Lady Raiders. Cumberland defeats Welch College 79-55. Women's soccer action. The Firehawks of UT Southern fall to life. Life was hard on the Firehawks. 2-1 in the Southern States Athletic Conference semifinals. On the ice last night, Philadelphia comes to Bridgestone Arena, gets out with a 3-1 decision. And in the NFL, Thursday night football, Denver with a 10-7 win over Vegas.
Hopefully these games tonight are much better than the 10-7 game Mo just referenced there. But high school football action gets underway this evening, weather permitting. Pope John Paul II will be at Boyd Buchanan. Rossview is traveling to Brentwood this evening. Independence on the road at Clarksville. Providence Academy is at DCA. Lakeway Christian is at Franklin Road Academy. Brighton is at Kirkwood. Davidson Academy traveling to Lausanne. Riverdale will be at Lebanon this evening. Houston County is traveling to Lewis County. CPA at Lipscomb Academy. Liberty Creek at Marshall County, game we referenced earlier in this show. Father Ryan will be at McCauley. Dixon County is on the road. Little short trip for the Cougs over to Memphis Central. Good luck traveling on Friday night. Grace Baptist Chattanooga will be at Middle Tennessee Christian. Kenwood visiting Munford. It'll be Grace Christian Franklin at North Point Christian. Hendersonville will be at Page. Innovation Academy at Sale Creek. It's Franklin Christian traveling to Trinity Christian this evening. Watertown, best of luck to the Purple Tigers making the trip down to Tyner Academy tonight. Good luck there. Maplewood will be at Waverly, and Camden Central capping our Middle Tennessee schedule at Westmoreland. Again, all kickoffs, unless we stated otherwise, set for 7 p.m.
There we go. Women's basketball action today/tonight. East Tennessee State will be at Food City Center at Thompson Bowling Arena for a 5:30 Central Time tip-off against the Lady Vols. You can see it on SEC Plus. On ESPN Plus at 6:30, Brown University out of the Ivy League coming to the Kirby Event Center, taking on the Lady Bruins of Belmont. At 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, it's Wright State and Tennessee State. No indication of where that game is being played. Maybe it's a neutral site. Men's basketball action today, 6 o'clock tip-off as Tennessee Wesleyan meets UT Southern in the Chick-fil-A Classic at Crisp Arena. Wade, any idea where Crisp Arena is?
That sounds like the good old campus of Bethel University over there in West Tennessee.
Okay. All right.
Nice
That's
digs.
interesting. All right. In the association, 7 o'clock tonight, the Grizzlies trying to shake off some bad juju as Dallas comes to the FedEx Forum. Again, 7 o'clock start. You can see it on FanDuel Sports.
Saturday, we crank up college football with TSU at UT Martin. 1 p.m. is your kickoff time. You can see that one on ESPN Plus. Also on the Plus, FIU will be at MTSU. That game is set for 2 p.m. Auburn is at Vanderbilt at 3 on the SEC Network, and Central Arkansas will meet Austin Peay in Clarksville at 3 on ESPN Plus. Women's basketball, Simmons is going to be at Fisk at 1 p.m. Oakland City is traveling to Cumberland at 2. Schedule showing UT Southern at Kentucky Wesleyan. That is set for a 3 o'clock tip-off. Oakwood will be at Trevecca at 6 p.m. Men's basketball, big slate on Saturday beginning at 2 o'clock on SEC Plus. Northern Kentucky will be at Tennessee. Vanderbilt is traveling to UCF. That game will get underway at 3 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Austin Peay traveling to Air Force at 3 o'clock. UT Southern and Southeastern Baptist at 3 p.m. Tip-off, again, at the Chick-fil-A Classic over at Crisp Arena in Bethel, unless they've renamed it. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that's on the campus of Bethel there. Sewanee will be at Trevecca at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. Union Commonwealth is at Cumberland at 4. Simmons and Fisk, that's a doubleheader there, folks. So the first game for the ladies is at 1, and the men will follow, but also scheduled for 4 p.m. Webster's at MTSU, 6:30 will be your tip-off time. You can see that one on ESPN Plus. TSU at Belmont at 7 o'clock to close us out on ESPN Plus. MLS action, game 3 of the opening round in the Eastern Conference playoffs. NSC is at Inter Miami. You can see that one at 7 o'clock on Apple TV.
Sunday action. Men's basketball, Lipscomb travels down to Macon, taking on Mercer. That's a 1 o'clock tip. You can see it on ESPN Plus. In women's hoops, Chattanooga comes to Allen Arena, taking on Lipscomb's women. Again, that's a 2 o'clock start on ESPN Plus. Also at 2 o'clock, also on ESPN Plus. Do not adjust your sets. UT Martin is hosting the Lady Vols of the University of Tennessee. Interesting matchup. NBA action Sunday, 5 o'clock. Back at the FedEx Forum, the Grizzlies taking on the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. You can see it, if you so choose, on FanDuel Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Antonio Brown apparently has been hanging out over in Dubai for the last while, Wade.
Hanging out.
That is no longer the case. U.S. Marshals took the former NFL receiver into custody yesterday. He has been brought back to the States, apparently being currently held in New Jersey, where he has waived extradition and will soon be, if he's not already, somewhere between New Jersey and Miami. This action is stemming from attempted murder charges being brought against Brown following a celebrity boxing event in Miami in May. According to the arrest warrant, Brown is accused of grabbing a handgun from a security staffer and firing 2 shots at a man he had gotten into a fist fight with earlier. One of the bullets grazed this individual's neck. Man, second-degree attempted murder charge carries a maximum sentence of 15 years and up to a $10,000 fine should there be a conviction. You know, we've seen a lot of unhealthy behavior out of Antonio Brown over the last few years, and it seems as if possibly it's caught up with him.
Yeah, interesting news coming down last night, and I love the way you phrase that. He's been hanging out in Dubai, and he's been doing a little bit more than that. Still kind of taunting, really, is what he's been doing. His posts on Instagram where he's riding around in luxury sports cars. He's at the barber shop. I mean, he's having a big time out on the lam over in Dubai. It ain't too hard to track you down, my man, especially when you're giving everybody the playbook on where you at. So,
was he not aware that there are extradition agreements between Dubai and the U.S.? I mean, what, or is this just another of his, I don't know, reckless behavior?
Yeah, I mean, he is the guy that, brings you CTESPN on his social media feed after all. So, I mean, not necessarily the most sound or logical behavior at times from this guy. So, they do apprehend him, believe it or not. Yeah, they can find you. They probably didn't necessarily need the help of you riding around in the Lambos overseas, but it made it a little bit easier. And if he wanted to be caught, he certainly did a good job of it. If he didn't want to be caught, Dubai and social media, not really a great recipe. I'd be fleeing to a little more discreet or remote location. So be curious to see how this plays out, right? I mean, we're talking about something that is serious. But we also will kind of have to see how the courts process all this before we see Mr. Brown undoubtedly to make headlines in some shape, form, or fashion yet again.
That's a great way to bring it all together. He has made a lot of headlines. Years, maybe, I don't know how long it's been that his intriguing behavior has been going on, but this really has kind of escalated a little bit. I don't know that anything else had resulted in legal charges to this point, but he's up against it right now, man. There will be lawyers, so we'll see how this shakes out. Let's go ahead and take a break as we get into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by our NASCAR expert, Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little Championship 4 and beyond. Stick around.
Closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
We continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now, long time no see, our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams from WCYB-TV out of Johnson City. We've been letting David and Calvin have all the fun middle of the week, but we've got Heather now. Heather,
I mean,
let's
be honest. Calvin was not having fun.
Well,
He wasn't pretending to the standards we at least were hoping.
I mean, we had a lot of time talking about ETSU football, but he's not a NASCAR fan.
Well, yeah, and let me just say now, I'm not sure what Calvin's level of knowledge is, but as I told you on multiple occasions when we first started having you on, I am no gearhead, but you know, I've tried to at least make myself conversational about this thing, but you've been a great help along those lines. So thank you. And again, we are glad to have you with us here on this Friday afternoon. So is it as simple as, because again, I don't understand all this. Kyle Larson was the top finisher of the championship at Phoenix, and that's how he won the championship despite not winning the race. Is that the way that goes?
Yeah. For the championship 4, it is the top finisher of the 4 drivers. They could be 36, 37, 38, and 39, and 36 would be the champion. That's what it is. And, you know, it is really fascinating because in the past, I think there's only been one other time, 2 years ago when Ross Chastain won the race and Ryan Blaney finished second, that the champion didn't win the race. There's only been one other time where that's happened, but the champion didn't even win a race in the final 2 rounds, which is kind of hard to believe and a little odd.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney wins the race out at Phoenix this weekend. Keselowski's second. Larson finishes third, but by virtue of his third place finish ahead of the other 3 guys, Hamlin, Briscoe, and Byron, Larson wins the Cup Series championship. Congratulations to him. That's his second. Is that correct?
It is his second. If anyone that watched that race, though, it's disappointing for Larson because Larson is very much a worthy champion. He's one of the best drivers in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But you just felt the entire race that this was going to be Denny Hamlin was finally going to win this championship. He led the most laps of the race. He started from the pole. He was leading the race when the final caution came out. It was Denny Hamlin's championship, and it almost felt stolen. And again, no disrespect to Kyle Larson, but it really felt it felt like that was taken from him unfairly almost. It was tough to watch.
Along those lines, Heather, you know, it seemed like the outpouring from the community was there for Denny Hamlin, but it seemed like even Kyle Larson, you know, he was glad to win the championship, of course, but even he felt a little bad or compassionate, I guess, if you will, for Denny in that moment.
Well, I mean, they're very good friends, right? I mean, they're good friends. And Denny Hamlin, just to show, I mean, a lot is said about him and who he is, but Denny Hamlin went out with his friend Kyle Larson that night and celebrated the championship, you know, because they do have a lot of respect for each other and they are friends. But, you know, just with everything that was going on in Denny's life with his dad not doing well and him saying this is probably his dad's last chance to see him try to do this. He is 44 years old. It only gets tougher from here to win a championship. And the fact that he did everything right. I mean, they did everything right. He came out, he put it on the pole, he led the most laps. He was leading at the end of regulation, and it was in overtime. You know, they took 4 tires. The teams up front took none or 2 tires. Larson was in a 2-tire group, and then he just couldn't make it back up there in 2 laps. He got bogged in traffic, and that is a tough way to lose a championship.
You know, and the question kind of immediately pivoted to, you know, is this a Carl Edwards situation where he kind of just, you know, the pain and the age and the other factors you mentioned with the family members there? I mean, did we see him just walk away at this point? It seemed like he didn't have a great answer in terms of maybe what fans wanted to hear because it was such an emotional gut punch for him there.
Yeah, and he said, you know, his fun meter was pegged, was his quote after the race. You know, my fun meter is pegged. I don't want to get in a car anymore. But he's kind of backed off that a little bit since then, and he's going to be in the car next year. It's not going to be like Carl where he just disappears. But I just go back to that is just a tough way to lose it, right? And I think, you know, for NASCAR fans that have been lobbying for a long time to get rid of this championship format between what happened to Denny Hamlin and what happened to Conor Zilic in the Xfinity Series race. I think those are the final 2 nails in the coffin. We are getting a new championship format. It's probably going to be an old championship format. From everything I'm hearing, we're probably going back to the chase for the championship where we do 10 races because the networks definitely want some sort of postseason. We're not going back to a full season, which is what a lot of the fans really want. But for those, as painful as it was for Conor Zilic and Denny Hamlin to watch them, because those 2 felt like they should have been the champions. For fans that want to change, I mean, it's what you needed to get change.
So does that take place for next year, do you think?
Yes, probably. I think that's the last time we see this championship format. I don't know for sure what the championship format's going to be from what other people are reporting and what I've kind of heard off the record type of thing. It's probably going to be the chase for the championship format that we'll go back to. But this format, as we know it, is almost 100% officially dead. I'd put it at about 97% done.
Definitely on life support.
Yes.
How long has this format been in place, Heather?
So the way that we're doing it now, I believe it's been 4 or 5 years because there's been several iterations of this. We went to a 10 driver, 10 race chase for the championship. Then they expanded it to 12 and then to 16, including and that's when they went to the playoffs when they expanded to 16. You know, the other formats that were up that are under consideration because they haven't announced anything, so I'm assuming everything's still on the table at this point, is the full season points, which seems unlikely because the networks don't want it, and then 3-3-4 format where they would race 3 races, and 4. The final 4 races would be for the championship. That seems unlikely as well, from what I've heard. Again, all points signed to going back to the chase for the championship. It's all really interesting to me because I like the playoffs. I hated the way they ended this year, so I like them a little bit less because I just feel like, for the most part, they've crowned like worthy champions because almost always the champion has won the race, which seems like a fitting way to crown a champion. But all of this came about because in 2003, Ryan Newman won 8 or 9 races. Matt Kenseth won 1 race, and Matt Kenseth was the champion. And fans were like, oh, how can you only win 1 race and be a champion when this guy won 8 races and blah, blah, blah. So NASCAR came up with the chase for the championship. Well, now NASCAR fans, about 20 years later, a little bit more, 21 years later, want to go back to what we had. They want to go back to full season points. So I don't know. It's interesting to me. We're probably, like I said, we're probably not going all the way back to full season points, probably ever. But I guess we'll see in the next few months.
Yeah, going back to that method does seem a little, horse out of the barn situation in a sense, Heather. Also, it's a little too European soccer, in the sense where we just everybody plays everybody, and the best team over the course of the season is the champ. That seems a little too not anti-North American sports in the way I kind of perceive that.
Well, NASCAR likes to be different. I mean, their core fan base says that they want to be different. They're not sticking ball sports. They're not the Super Bowl. I mean, if you look at just football, for instance, last year, the best team all year was the Kansas City Chiefs. They had the best record. They did not win the Super Bowl. They were not playing the best football at the end of the year, and they got beat in the Super Bowl. But NASCAR fans were like, we're not football. We don't want to be football. We want the best guy all year long to be the champion. That's why they want full season points. But I think under the chase for the championship format, because it is 26 races, the 10 or 12 or 16, however many drivers they decide to put into the chase. It was 10 originally. They're all in. They're reseeded based on how they finished. And then you go out and race the final 10 races, and then whoever's at the top of the points. That format still rewards regular season success and full season success while giving the networks what they want in a quote unquote playoff. So I think that's going to be the compromise.
Having said that too, Heather, kind of big picture here, blow up the entire course of the season. Maybe give me outside of, Larson, I suppose, or even Denny Hamlin to that extent, who's maybe your biggest winner over the course of the season? And then who maybe is your biggest loser in your mind as far as they didn't get the results they were looking for at all?
Well, I think,
Hey, Heather, Heather.
Yes.
Heather, can I show our knowledge here first? I don't know where you're going to go with this, but could SVG be a candidate for your biggest winner?
He could. He definitely could. He definitely
on the right track.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at what he did as a rookie, it's incredible, right? He won 5 races. It's pretty much unheard of for a rookie. He is one more race. He tied Jeff Gordon's record for consecutive wins on the road course. He could break that this coming year. He's definitely one of the guys that would that. But that being said, we all expected that. We all knew he was going to be good on the road courses. The big jump for SVG, and he did have this towards the end of the year, was where's the improvement on the ovals? Like, because to be a serious playoff contender, he's going to have to run better on the ovals. So yes and no with SVG. What he did was incredibly impressive, but I need to see something from him on the ovals in order to really, we all know he's maybe the best road course driver in the world in any discipline. I mean, he's that good, but he needs to work on the ovals. I would say William Byron, although he had a disappointing championship race, he was running second. He was the guy that brought out the caution that cost Denny Hamlin the championship. And he actually apologized to Denny in the post race. But he was right there at the end. He's the regular season champ. And I think, he's been a guy that a lot of people have kind of thought, well, he's in Hendrick year, Hendrick equipment. He's in the 24. Of course, he's going to be good. But I think he's starting to elevate himself as a premier driver. I think he's the number 2 driver at Hendrick right now behind Kyle Larson. And that's huge for him because your teammate is Chase Elliott and the other one is Alex Bowman, and those are 2 pretty good drivers. But I think he's established himself as the number 2 driver in that. And then also Chase Briscoe. I mean, what an unbelievable season for Chase Briscoe. He comes over from Stewart-Haas Racing. He had some success. He'd made the playoffs, but I think it just shows you that at the end of it, that equipment at Stewart-Haas was not very good, because he gets in good equipment and boom, championship 4, like it was nothing. Once he won a race, he led the series in poles, and it just, when he had speed, he took advantage of it. So I think those 3 are probably my big winners. I think when you look at disappointment outside of SVG, I think both the Trackhouse drivers had pretty disappointing seasons. I know Ross made the playoffs, but I know that they expect more than what they got this year. And then Daniel not making the playoffs and eventually being replaced by Conor Zilich. I think that's a pretty disappointing season for them. Lots to celebrate with SVG, but outside of SVG, not a lot to celebrate for them. And then I also think Spire Motorsports, I think that coming into the season, they really thought that they were going to be able to win races, specifically with either Carson Hocevar or Michael McDowell. McDowell has won races before at his previous team at Front Row Motorsports, and Carson has been right on the precipice of being able to win a race. And for them to not accomplish that, I think is pretty disappointing for them.
Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today as we talk a little racing. And Heather, you mentioned Trackhouse. They announced earlier today their lineup for 2026. And, I'm not sure what maybe it's the crew chief lineup and that kind of thing that they actually announcing, because Ross Chastain is back. SVG is still there. Connor Zillage is now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the main news nugget in that is the car number change. The rest of that had already been announced.
Okay.
But SVG moving to the 87 and Zillage moving to the 97, excuse me, and Zillage moving to the 88. Okay. That's the headline of that announcement. Everything else had been out in drips and drabs throughout the year.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for clearing that up for me, because I was wondering, what are you announcing? Do we know where Suarez is going?
Yes, he is headed to Spire Motorsports to take over the 7 car next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know a crew chief. They have not made a crew chief announcement for the 7 car. Those that follow the sport know that midway through the year after the Bristol race, they parted ways with Rodney Childress, who was the crew chief of the 7 car, and then put their competition director, Ryan Sparks, in as interim crew chief for the 7. I would assume that they don't want Sparks doing the crew chiefing and the competition director for all of Spire Motorsports at the same time. So I believe they're actively looking for a crew chief for Suarez for that 7 car, and move Sparks back to just doing competition director. But I was at the announcement for Suarez when they announced that he was moving, and Jeff Dickerson, the co-owner of Spire, said they're not necessarily going in that direction, that Sparks is among the people they're considering for the 7 car, but I just think it would be really difficult for him to do that for another almost full season in the dual role. So I expect a crew chief announcement from them soon, but nothing yet.
Heather, a couple visits ago with Mo and I, at least, we were talking about the San Diego stop and the excitement about that. What other scheduling news and nuggets? Is there any new chatter or any tinkering that's going to go on with the schedule that you can enlighten us with just yet?
Well, since we're moving away from this current championship format, playoff format, I would expect there could be, maybe not this year, but going forward, some changing to the schedule. They're rotating where the final race of the year is going to be. Next year it will be at Homestead. And then they're going to have a rotation of where the final race is going to be. But there are, I would say, a number of tracks that would probably, that like the idea of being in quote unquote the playoffs, but if there's not a playoff, might want to move where they are position wise, or NASCAR may want to move where they are position wise, because the dates don't hold as much prestige, not being cutoff races or playoff races. Specifically, I look at the 3 cutoff races. Martinsville being the cutoff is a great cutoff race. It's perfect there, but it's darn cold in Martinsville in late October, early November. So would that be a race that might want to move up closer to the summer where it's a little bit warmer? The same goes for Bristol. And I have no knowledge about this, even though I live in Bristol. I haven't talked to any of my sources here in Bristol about it, but would they want to? Because this year, their race was on the same weekend as Tennessee, Georgia. That hurts attendance. No matter how you want to spin it, that hurts attendance. So Bristol loved the idea of being a cutoff race. So they did not ask to move. Well, we don't have cutoff races anymore. That's not a thing. So would Bristol look to move off of that date back to their more traditional late August race? Just a few possibilities that are out there.
Heather, it looks like there's been some movement recently on the front row 2311 action with NASCAR. Can you bring us speed on that?
I mean, sort of. I don't have 3 hours on this program. There's a ton going on and stuff breaking like every day. There were a couple of pretty significant rulings in favor of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports this week that caused Front Row Motorsports and 2311 to change their filings a little bit. NASCAR basically ruled in their favor as far as the interpretation of what a monopoly is. So part of their lawsuit has been dropped, and 2311 is basically focusing on NASCAR's misuse of their, because sports kind of have, major sports organizations have monopolistic, what's the word I'm looking for? They have exceptions, right? They can basically operate as monopolies and not be called monopolies, like the NFL and Major League Baseball and that. Mm-hmm. But there are certain responsibilities they have to not abuse that power. So now 2311 is basically focusing, in Front Row Motorsports, their lawsuit on, they believe that NASCAR is abusing the rights that they have to operate as a monopoly. That's where the focus of their lawsuit is now, based on the ruling that was made earlier this week by the judge in their favor. They're also asking to call to the stand to testify the two biggest owners in NASCAR, which is Rick Hendrick and Roger Penske, and those two are pretty much fighting that. They want their, because all the owners had to basically make a statement, and they want their statements to stand as what their opinion is on this. But 2311 and Front Row are fighting for them to testify. We are barreling towards a December 1st court date. That's when this is supposed to get underway. And just 2 weeks ago, they were reportedly, they had some court order mediation. They were reportedly very close to settling this lawsuit. And then from what the reports that were out there was, they got hung up on who was going to pay for the court costs and the lawyer fees. And then the talks broke down. So,
so close.
Yeah, so close and yet so far away. It always comes down to money. So, but there was some movement on, NASCAR was willing to make some movement towards permanent charters, which is the big hang up in this lawsuit, is 2311 and Front Row Motorsports want the charters to be permanent. So that's where we stand right now. Again, there's going to be a ton of development in the next little less than a month now till the court date is scheduled.
Heather, where are you on your Chiefs right now?
The schedule gets easier from this point. The bulk of the really tough games were on the front half of the schedule. The Chiefs, they've played the Chargers, they've played the Bills, they've played the Lions, they've played Baltimore, all before their bye. It's been tough. They've had a ton of injuries on the offensive line, or in one case, a guy, leaving the team to deal with some family issues. They had obviously played the first 4 games without Rashee Rice. So I think things look brighter on the back half of the schedule for the Chiefs. They're still in a good position to win the division. Like they have not played. They beat the Raiders. They lost to the Chargers. They haven't played the Broncos at all, who they're chasing. They still have one more game left at the Chargers. So it's still very much in their control, what they can do, but they are going to have to play better. They're definitely going to have to play better coming out of the break. We'll see.
Yeah, good news, bad news, Heather. The good news is you still got Denver twice, including that Christmas Day game, which will be electric, the final game on Christmas there. Bad news is you only get the Raiders one more time. It'd be nice to get them about 3 or 4 more times, but only just one more versus Pete and the guys.
Yeah, if we could play the Raiders every week, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot. You got to buy, and then you got Denver and Indy. Those 2 games alone could probably give you a send-off into the second half, or the final, 6 games of the season, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm not too emotional about it, because even in the middle of their amazing dynastic run, there were a few years where the Patriots missed the playoffs. The NFL set up that way to discourage dynasties. So inevitably with the salary cap and everything that's going on, there are going to be step back years. The Chiefs really haven't had those. I mean, the floor for the Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era has been the AFC Championship game. That's the the worst season he's had as a starter. So I can't be too, I just can't be too upset if we take a step back. It's the circle of life as it was in the NFL.
There you go. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, sharing her NASCAR knowledge and dealing with the unknowledgeable in at least one case. Heather, we appreciate you taking some time with us, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, sounds fun. We are, the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium is the first weekend in February. So
3 months.
Not much of an off season.
Well, hang in there in the short term. Hey, real quick, Heather, I want to ask you, how's our ETSU squad looking, particularly our McNamara boys from here in the mid-state?
Well, not great.
Sorry, I asked.
The Cade McNamara is done for the season. He had a pretty bad injury in the Bucks last game because they're coming off the bye. Jake McNamara's actually looked pretty good. He's actually going to probably be the starter this week, either him or Jacoby Criswell. Criswell's coming off an injury. It seems like it'll probably be Jake McNamara starting, but if Criswell's healthy, he may play. And actually, he's looked pretty good in relief. He's come in twice off the bench for injured starters, and both times they've won. So he's looked pretty good.
Good deal. I was contractually obligated via Calvin to ask you about ETSU football, as producer Mark pointed out. So I wanted to sneak that in there. Thank you for enlightening me.
Absolutely. They've got a few games left to they could get the 7 wins this year if they won out, which is not out of the question, which is less than what they expected, but not a terrible year. So
there we go. Heather, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime for you guys. You know that.
Thank you,
We'll
Heather.
catch up.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today. When we come back, we will get into the grab bag. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable, local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Let's get into the grab bag as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Nashville had lost back-to-back overtime meetings as they got ready to take on Philadelphia last night at Bridgestone. This one did not go overtime. Nashville dropping a 3-1 decision to the Flyers, held to just 3 shots in the final period. Ryan O'Reilly with the only goal, and man, it's just Nashville sports are a little bleak. Somebody's got to step it up, Wade.
Well, you got 3 choices, right? And one of them still playing. The other 2 stink, including the Preds, who, yes, the Preds and Titans very much mirror images of each other in the sense that the offenses are pretty doggone bad. And you mentioned 3 shots. You scored early and you're up and you're thinking, okay, O'Reilly got us on the board, 2.5 minutes into the game? Didn't score the rest of the way. Looked pretty inept, kind of what they have grown accustomed to. I'm pulling this up here. They've allowed 54 goals. They've only scored 40. They have the worst goal differential, second worst goal differential in the entire NHL. It has been grim for the Preds, who, a little fool's gold in the first 10 days or so of the regular season. They're back to being pretty putrid.
Yeah, and they got Dallas coming to town Saturday night, so rots of rock. Speaking of luck, NSC, big game tomorrow night in Miami, game 3 of the opening round of the MLS playoffs. And if they want to extend their season, they got to have a win.
Yeah, going to be a Herculean effort if they're going to get it done. And realistically, I was looking at the odds earlier. They're plus 400 to win the match in 90 minutes. Realistically, their best bet or their best hope is to force a draw for 90 minutes and then just take your chances in penalties, which is not gone in their favor versus Miami in that Leagues Cup final 2 years ago, but it's probably better than what you saw. Got blasted in the first game, but, bounce back. First ever playoff victory at Geodis Park, 2-1 in that spirited effort last Saturday. Hey, best of 3, you force game 3 versus the supposed MLS Cup contenders from where they were last season, which was about as bad as the Preds in the segment and the team we just mentioned a moment ago. You will take that. It's house money if they can pull it off Saturday. If they can't, it'll be frustrating for a moment, but it still has been a remarkable campaign, including the big U.S. Open Cup trophy. But yeah, to me, it feels like your best shot is maybe eke out a 1-1 after 90 minutes and take your chances in PKs.
So they don't do an overtime on the field. They just go straight to PKs after regulation time.
Yeah, it was explained to for this round at least. It's MLS, so who the heck knows? They're liable to change that up after the second round. There's no aggregate, just like the rest of the world. Literally, the rest of the world does for these playoff series, and there's no extra time, just like the rest of the world does. So, yeah, straight to PKs if you can battle your way to a 90-minute draw. 1-1 feels like the recipe there, but that also feels like a really tall task versus a Miami squad. But you do get a little reprieve because Luis Suarez, he didn't bite anybody, but he is suspended due to some accumulation of cards. So violent conduct and some incidents. There's always incidents with Suarez, but Suarez will be out. So at least one piece of the puzzle is out for Miami, which doesn't necessarily guarantee anything by any stretch for Nashville, but at least makes it a little bit less daunting.
Hey, every little bit helps, right? I had seen that earlier in the week and meant to mention it and forgot about it. But yeah, clearly not his first rodeo either, right?
No, I mean, he just gets roughed up, tangled up with Nahar. And Nahar, I don't know if Suarez is just not used to, he's bit people for less. But this was just flat out just good old fashioned, quote unquote violent conduct. This was tame by his standards, but it still meets the threshold to earn him a 1-match ban.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Thomas Harding from MLB.com on yesterday talking to him a little bit about new Braves manager Walt Weiss, who had previously managed the Colorado Rockies, who Thomas covers for MLB.com. And he kind of had to get off because he thought he had some news breaking. Well, sure enough, Paul DePodesta has been named the Rockies president of baseball operations. Thomas sourced it yesterday, has since gotten it officially earlier today. DePodesta, if you have seen the movie Moneyball, full disclosure, I have not.
Oh, man.
But he was pretty instrumental with the Oakland Athletics in that approach, that concept that Michael Lewis wrote the book about and the movie that followed. So coming back to baseball, having worked most recently in the Cleveland Browns front office. So he's as Wade would tell you, he's definitely got some experience working with dysfunctional franchises.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the headline, right? The I mean, this makes all the sense in the world. You got the Rockies, one of the most inept baseball organizations currently. Hey, let's steal a page from the Cleveland Browns, and let's go back to Moneyball from 30 years ago. Yes, that was a revolutionary moment in time, and it certainly was celebrated. But I mean, that was a long time ago. So credit to the Rockies, who Thomas kind of mentioned, weren't necessarily the most forward-thinking organization at the time. So trying to just uncover whatever stones they can. And I know what you're doing this weekend. We got to get you at least a copy of the book or watching the movie, man. I mean, he was not included, though, in the movie. He asked the filmmakers remove his name, though, just to make sure things weren't too unflattering. Well, he kind of removed all that doubt when he sidled up next to the Cleveland Browns all those years later. So we see what you're doing, Paul.
If you were really worried about unflattering, then you'd have taken some different steps. This guy played baseball and football at Harvard, apparently. So theoretically a smart guy.
Theoretically, and that's good news. Bad news is that is not going to, all the smarts in the world are not going to get the Rockies even remotely competitive in that division.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly in that division, like you said. But he what does this say? Becomes the 5th head of the baseball op department in Rockies history. For what that's worth.
Hopefully it sounds like Thomas, hopefully they get him at least his own office and not just have him stashed out down by the manager in the clubhouse this time.
That'll be an improvement, apparently. Yeah. The Atlanta Braves announced that they have picked up the options for Chris Sale and Ozzie Albies. I knew that. I've been listening to ESPN too much. Chris Sale, Ozzie Albies options picked up. Pierce Johnson, Tyler Kinley options declined. Moves that will save about $12 million roughly. Meanwhile, former Vandy boy Tony Mansolino, who spent part of this past summer as the interim manager of the Baltimore Orioles, has been named the Braves' third base coach. And former San Francisco staffer JP Martinez has been named the Braves' bullpen coach. They still have not named a bench coach for Weiss as of yet, so I'm still holding out hope that maybe Ron Washington comes back. A couple of interesting moves there as they continue to work on Weiss's coaching staff there. Bringing in another guy with some managerial experience in the third base coaching box to replace Freddie Gonzalez, who obviously won't be coming back, nor will Rick Kranitz as pitching coach. So they're moving on, and going to be some new faces in the dugout, obviously, this time around. Let us go ahead and take a break right here as we reach the top of the 3 o'clock hour. We wrap up hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up to the Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let's come back. Let's talk a little football. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Get started right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Wade, you mentioned it. I was busy watching the polar opposite of this game last night. 112 points scored in my high school game. 17 points last night between the Raiders and the Broncos. And I don't know when the last time was that a Sean Payton offense has been held to 10 points, but that was what happened last night when they took on Vegas. Broncos winning 10-7, improving to 8-2 with the win, but man, doesn't look like it was very appetizing.
No, you are right. And thank goodness for high school football. Saved me from having to watch a second of this last night because this is about as bad as it gets. But we said earlier in the week, right? Denver finds ways to win games. They've blown teams out. They've won close games that maybe they shouldn't have won that were aesthetically pleasing. And then last night, they win a game that they had no business only winning by 3. They should have, on paper, taken names versus Vegas here. But finding a way to win, continuing to take charge of the AFC West and just finding ways to scrape one out. You're right. It was an ugly, ugly game, kind of befitting of what we've grown accustomed to on Thursday night. You know, it's a good Thursday night game, and you know, it's one of those real awful, ugly ones that only the nuts can enjoy when Al Michaels gets real grumpy, and it sounded like he was extra grumpy last night.
Understandably. Denver's won 7
getting paid
straight
to be
now.
there.
Yeah. Imagine the folks that paid to be there. Denver's won 7 straight. They've won 10 straight at home now. Bo Nix with a couple of picks to go with a touchdown pass in that win. Doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun at all. Vegas falling to 2-7 with the loss.
Yeah, the game does not sound fun, but yeah, 8-2. I mean, Bo Nix is basically, like I said earlier this week too, he's basically Tim Tebow in the sense, he makes some ugly plays that just defy the laws of physics and all conventional wisdom, and then somehow miraculously leads his team to victory. We've kind of seen a similar script at QB in Denver before, and they're following it again. They're atop the AFC, best record in the NFL right now.
Who'd have thunk? I mean, you didn't see that again. Kansas City still got 2 with them. Is that right? Is that what we said?
Still got 2. And I mean, they were a Super Bowl contender. You know, locally, we might not have thought that after watching the Titans almost beat them in week 1, but they have been. Like I said, this is the frustrating thing with Denver because some weeks they have gone out and looked like world beaters, and they wouldn't have that second loss. Remember, we got the leveraging penalty for the controversial penalty that cost them that game versus the Colts in week 2. Their 2 losses are by a combined 4 points. Otherwise, we'd be talking about the last unbeaten team in the NFL right now.
Some other matchups. Well, first, some good news out of DC. Jaden Daniels isn't going to have surgery on that left non-throwing elbow that he injured in an ugly fashion. I didn't see it Sunday night, and I'm really glad I didn't from listening to how everybody else has reacted to it. But they won't be placing him on IR. He's not going to have surgery. They're just going to continue to monitor it and reevaluate it in week 12 is what I think I saw. So some good news for the Commanders who could use some.
Good news. I mean, that's the best case situation for Washington. You are too good to really full-blown openly admit you're going to tank, but you need to start tanking. And the good news is, we don't have Daniels for a couple weeks. We don't have our guy. We'll reevaluate. Guess what? We might have seen the last of Jaden Daniels. If you can kind of finesse your way to enough losses between now and then, you could conveniently get him a full offseason, because having him back and healthy is the absolute utmost important thing that you have to do getting ready for next year.
You know, it feels like Washington was in a similar position to, you know, the Preds from a couple of years ago. It's like they got there a little quicker than expected last year, going 12-5, getting to the playoffs, getting a lot of buzz going.
Getting to the NFC Championship game. They were a win from the Super Bowl.
And really kind of accelerated their timetable, it feels like. And, you know, to your point, maybe coming back to earth kind of recalibrates them and lets them get a better read on where they really are, and they can address some things rather than, you know, kind of playing with a little fool's gold and thinking they were, you know, better than they were. So
yeah, and similar to the Preds, it's interesting that you make that parallel, because then they go out and they grab a couple of, you know, free agents that, you know, sound kind of cool. You grab Deebo Samuel, but let's not forget the Commanders have the oldest roster in the NFL by a wide margin. They're at 28 years average roster age, so they followed the Preds blueprint to the T. Have a little success, bring in some guys that you think still got some gas in the tank. It hadn't worked out, but if Daniels is healthy and thriving all season long, maybe we're talking about a different situation anyway. And if you get him back next year with a high pick, then you could really be in business.
Yeah. Some interesting matchups Sunday looking ahead. In the AFC South, Jacksonville goes to Houston. Jaguars 5-3, Houston 3-5. Couple of 2-loss teams going at it in Tampa Bay when New England goes down there. Big NFC West matchup as the Rams go to San Francisco, and Wade's Chargers get a visit from the Steelers.
Yeah, big slate. Don't forget your Falcons too. They're over in. You got to get up early to watch your boys in Berlin on Sunday, Mo.
Man, I don't know if I'm getting up early these days to watch the Falcons. It's been a little bit of a struggle. Not quite Titanish, but close. So
heard a stat earlier, Mo, that the Colts, by expected points scored, they are the highest team. They are scoring more points than you would traditionally expect based on their advanced stats. On the other end of the spectrum, the Falcons are ranked 32nd. They are scoring woefully below their amount of expected points. Buckle up, folks. Should be fun. Right. Yeah. Should be fun for the folks in Berlin to check that out. Meanwhile, you mentioned the Jags a minute ago. Very interesting situation, not too dissimilar to what we just discussed with Heather. They still have 2 games remaining versus the Colts. You can make a really strong argument that if the Jags could turn it around, they can kind of control their own destiny as far as winning the AFC South going forward here.
Man, I think it's going to be an interesting second half for the Colts. I've not looked at their schedule yet, but, you know, maybe Danny Dimes comes back to earth. I don't know. If somebody can figure out a way to slow down Jonathan Taylor, who knows what happens.
Steelers did.
Yeah, well, yeah. And but I mean, I don't know that everybody is necessarily the Steelers either. So that's kind of the rub. But we were asking, or I can't remember if it was you or if it was David that was asking whether it was Taylor that was making Jones look so good, or whether it was Jones that was making Taylor look so good. I think we're starting to get the answer to that. I think it's Taylor that's A or 1, and Jones is 1A for the Colts right now. But it's going to be interesting. I don't think the Falcons can do anything with them under any circumstance. But at some point, I think things are going to get a little tougher for the Colts.
They will, for sure. And to that point, we just mentioned with Heather, they got the Chiefs coming up after the Berlin game. If you somehow drop that game to the Falcons, then you got to go to Arrowhead in 2 weeks after the little mini bye. It'll be tough, right? And then you still got those 2 games, as I mentioned, versus the Jags, and you still got the Texans twice. And despite their offensive woes, and who knows if Stroud returns and what the offense looks like the second half of the season for Texas, the fact is their defense is still absolutely elite. So it won't be necessarily the cakewalk that you might have initially thought for Indianapolis going forward. And this week will kind of go a long way toward determining that.
Yeah. interesting that we're talking about former Alabama linebackers with D'Amico Ryans, coach of the Texans, because one of the greatest former Alabama linebackers, Woodrow Lowe, passed away yesterday in Collierville, Tennessee, at the age of 71. 2 3-time All-Americans at the University of Alabama. Another linebacker, Cornelius Biscuit Bennett. Lowe was a part of 4 SEC championship teams at the University of Alabama. Again, a 3-time All-American linebacker, went on and played professionally for the San Diego Chargers and had 21 career interceptions in the National Football League. And this dude was a stud. Again, passed away at the age of 71 yesterday. Son, Woodrow Lowe Jr., is the football coach at Jackson Northside. Little known fact. But 11 years with the Chargers, drafted in the 5th round. Again, 21 NFL picks. 4 of those went back for touchdowns. Named to San Diego's 40th and 50th anniversary teams. So it wasn't just at the collegiate ranks where he starred. After his playing career, coached with the Raiders and the Chiefs, and coached in the Alabama high school ranks at his alma mater at Central Phoenix City, as well as at Selma Smith Station, and again at his alma mater. So Woodrow Lowe has passed away at the age of 71. Nice piece on him on AL.com if you want to check that out.
Heck of a player, heck of a career, some great genes, obviously, of course, and will be sadly missed by a number of different groups and organizations in addition to his family, obviously.
Yeah. We'll be talking some SEC football with Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 in the next segment. We've got the Wonder Slate to close out the show. But Wade, on a national basis, anything just jumping out at you for this weekend?
Well, real quick, I was going to give you props, and thanks for not rubbing it in. We got the house divided battle this week because the Browns and the Jets will tangle. Wife's a big Brownies girl. I'm a big Jets guy. Jets have not lost in like 2 weeks thanks to the win and then the bye. So they're looking fun. We didn't mention the Colts, by the way. Debut for Sauce Gardner coming up. How about that? You get signed, and then you got to – wait a minute. Could you not trade me after? You mean I got to load up and go all the way across the pond here? Would have been
I hope
nice.
he had a passport.
Jets were just overseas, so he should be good to go. Though that's interesting, right? You would think that'd be mandatory for some of these guys, but that's the ultimate thing, right? If you're set to play in one of these games and you're injured, it'd be a real shame if you guys just went without me. I could go ahead and get started on my bye week a little early, right? But yeah, Sauce will be going. It'll be a fun matchup watching him undoubtedly versus Drake London, who's one of the top receivers in the NFL. But yes, Jets and Browns, going to be electric Sunday on CBS. Looking forward to that one. And then we mentioned the Lions and the Commanders, that rematch of the NFC Championship game, what could have been at least.
Mm-hmm.
But the Commanders nipped them in the bud just around before. Doesn't quite carry the same juice, but the Lions are playing pretty good ball. And you mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Don't look now, but the Bears are starting to look rather sneaky. This might be a tarmac game for Brian Daboll if they somehow lose yet again. I know the season has gone completely off the rails. A couple of those losses with Russ under center. They've rejuvenated slightly with Jackson Dart returning. But the Bears can improve to 6-3 with the win. So looking forward to those. And then, of course, the Purple Bowl is going to be electric when you got Ravens and Vikings going toe-to-toe in that noon game on Fox Sunday.
The uniform combination should be worth tuning in for in and of themselves. Yes. So Browns Jets house divided. How did that happen?
Wife's from Cleveland. I'm a Jets fan randomly. So, I mean, hey, let's load
I didn't realize she was
watch
from up there.
Yeah, and this is the game I went to. We went to this game 2 years ago on Thursday night. It was about 12 degrees, and that was the game that the Browns clinched with Joe Flacco going back to the playoffs 2 years ago. And the tables have turned in a hurry because the Jets were putrid then, they're putrid now. But the Browns, after winning the division and clinching that berth 2 years ago, suddenly don't look so hot. This is going to be an ugly game, but one that I'll be tuned in for with the few Jets that remain on the roster this week.
So will you guys be getting up and doing breakfast with the Commodore, with the breakfast with the Jets and Browns?
Not with the Commodores, but yeah, we'll stroll down and catch a spot, and got a few other Browns fans in the area that will be subjecting me to some torturous humor and insults, I'm sure, on Sunday. But them's the breaks, man. If I can put up with all the banter from the Pats fans and basically every other NFL franchise, I could deal with one Sunday from a franchise that's about the same level of ineptitude as the Browns.
Sounds like fun. I will leave you and the missus to that. You can report back Monday on how things went as far as that went, in addition to the results, obviously. Let's go ahead and take a
also,
break.
real quick, you mentioned it too. The Titans they're on bye week this week, but they're going to be scoreboard watching because Tankathon is going to be lit up. The Panthers are sitting there at 5-4, and they got the Saints, so they could deal the Saints another L and help the Titans in one fell swoop this weekend. So even though the Titans are on bye, a lot of folks will be rooting for the team over there in North Carolina this weekend.
Okay. There's always something to root for, right? Even if your team isn't doing well. So Titans definitely.
Excuse me, I had that backwards. They're going to be rooting for the folks in New Orleans. They want the Saints to win. They want them to get that second win and snap the Panthers' winning streak because they want the Titans to have that number one pick again.
Okay, so here's a question. Do you really want the Titans to have the number one pick?
Absolutely. The Jets have like 12 first-round draft picks in the next 2 years, and they are itching to trade with somebody to take a quarterback because that's what the Jets do. And if you're the Titans sitting there at 1, why not trade and get you 4 first-rounders, right? I mean, you want the most draft cap. When you're a team as bad as Tennessee, draft picks are invaluable. Mike Bergonzi said as much. That's the currency right now that the team is dealing with. And yeah, give me the number one pick and give me all those offers that you got because the Jets or the Saints might be willing to trade up.
Well, so that's the plan. Get the number one and trade it, not get the number one and pick it.
I mean, a lot of folks are saying, Reuben Bain down in Miami is you're maybe going to be your number one. The quarterback class is certainly fallen off compared to what we saw in the preseason. So there isn't that clear consensus number one guy, it feels like. So, yeah, maybe the Titans do pick a guy like Reuben Bain, a great edge rusher from down there in Miami. But, yeah, why not trade back and pick up 2 or 3 extra first-rounders for a team with so many holes? I mean, that makes sense, does it not?
It absolutely makes sense. The Titans executing the number one pick does not make sense to me.
Now, there's the rub.
So there we go. Yeah. Let's take a break. When we come back here, we'll continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today with Chris Lee from Southeastern 16. Come on back.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
This is the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Let's talk a little Southeastern Conference football. Let's do it with Chris Lee of Southeastern 16. Chris, thanks for joining us. Chris? Mark, do we not have Chris?
He was here. I don't see him now. Let me reach out.
He heard Titans talk and bounced.
Well, I can understand that. Yeah, I thought I had seen him here. Hopefully we can get Chris back. I hope we didn't piss him off. I don't know what we would have done. But again, Vanderbilt's got Auburn coming to town tomorrow midday, 3:00, right?
Yep. And I'm real curious to see what Chris has got to say, because this has got all the familiar makings of a scary situation if you're a Vanderbilt fan. Reeling after a tough loss that could have solidified a playoff berth. And you got Auburn coming to town. What's the big deal, right? Well, the big deal is they got Hugh Freeze ran out of town, and suddenly it seems like morale is off the charts if you read the reports out of the Plains this week. So buyer beware. It's going to be an interesting game, and I kind of want to hear what Chris has got. I'm mainly curious from Vanderbilt's mental kind of side more than anything heading into this week.
Yeah, and Auburn has been dangerous under interim coaches, because when they got rid of Brian Harsin and Cadillac Williams stepped into that role, they got on a roll as well. And in fact, there was some support for him to get the job on a permanent basis before they hired Hugh Freeze. Wonder how folks are feeling about that one at this point. But they didn't bring Cadillac back for a second time, so I don't know. But yeah, you see teams get a little bit of a bump sometimes from that interim coaching situation, and I see where you're headed with that from a Vanderbilt standpoint. That could be a touchy situation there, kind of walking into an ambush a little bit.
Yeah, they said it was like a weight had been lifted from down there in Auburn. They got the rap music playing at practice now. It doesn't feel quite as, don't disrespect, but it doesn't feel as churchy going on during practice. Seems like morale is there. That is good for Auburn. But the fact of the matter is you still got a really good Vanderbilt team, if their head is still screwed on straight, that you got to go on the road and try and take care of business with this weekend.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier in the week. When they lost to Alabama, they had an off week before they jumped back into things and kind of gave them a chance to recalibrate a little bit. This time, that loss out in Austin, they've got another game right behind it, and maybe that makes a difference. Yeah, hopefully we can get Chris back in here and talk to him a little bit about Vanderbilt's frame of mind heading into this matchup against visiting Auburn. In addition, a couple of other SEC games of note this weekend, including Texas A&M going to Como, taking on the Missouri Tigers and a true freshman at quarterback. I'm fascinated by this A&M team, and not just because of Marcel Reed, but definitely because of Marcel Reed. So I'm interested to see what they do when they go to Columbia tomorrow against the Missouri Tigers. We have Chris Lee back, and I really like that SEC pinwheel logo in the background. Chris, good afternoon.
Hey, thanks. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine, man. We appreciate you getting back in here. Wade, in particular, is concerned with where the Commodores' collective head is heading into this Auburn matchup tomorrow, coming off that loss out at Texas this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm not as much worried about Vanderbilt's state of mind. I think that'll be okay. They will, they've beaten really, really good teams before several times. I don't think confidence is really an issue with this team. I think the question is, what are they getting in Auburn? Which Auburn, I think, off the coaching change, they've had issues offensively. They'll get a reboot with another guy. It's not like Auburn lacks for talent there. Now, look, whether the quarterbacks just genuinely stink or the next staff gets more out of them, like they've got dudes at receiver, right, that are problems. And you saw Vanderbilt have an issue there with Texas last week. So if Auburn can get the ball to guys, then, hey, that might be a problem for them based on their inability to tackle in the open field last week. The other thing is their offensive line's got to play better. Got to play better. I don't know if they're getting banged up this point of the year or what, but I don't think confidence is my concern with them. It's other things.
Chris, when you say that, I'm also curious. Vanderbilt made it look nice for the folks in Vegas, at least. Mo and I were both on the nice end of a backdoor cover there, but I'm also curious. Maybe not their best effort, obviously, but Texas, man, it feels like we've been waiting all season long for the final, all right, Texas is finally here. Did you sense that in a little bit as well, that the Longhorns finally, for the first time all season, kind of got everything together the way they wanted?
Yeah, I kind of did. That's the best game that I've seen them play all year. It's bad for Vandy. That's not where you wanted it, but I think Texas, we've always known they've had the talent. It just, for whatever reason, it's not come together. But that looked like the start of the Texas team we were expecting to see to start the season.
Yeah, the proverbial championship DVD highlight, right? Their season's kind of toiling on the brink, and then you get to Vanderbilt. The trivia question years from now might be, when did Arch Manning finally turn it around and go on to stardom? And it could be, unfortunately, at the Commodore's expense there.
Yeah, it kind of felt that way, didn't it?
And so then, Chris, when you say that, you mentioned I'm kind of scanning through the injury report, and I kind of just want to, I see obviously a ton of names for Auburn, including a couple of different receivers, but I'm real curious. Is this a game in your mind that trends under, over, or is it kind of just going to literally dictate on which team turns the ball over, that kind of whether we get a lot more points than that or not?
I think you hit on something I'm kind of watching. Everybody and their brother thinks this game is going over. I just have got this weird feeling it's going to be different than we think. There's going to be more points. Maybe that's defensive scores. Maybe that's Auburn getting its stuff together on offense. It just feels to me like we're in for something really weird tomorrow.
Like a 17-10, I'd be on board with.
That's what everybody thinks, but I'm wondering if we see something in the 50s. Like, there's nothing on paper to suggest it, but we've also not seen Auburn under new management, particularly on the offensive side yet either. So I don't know. To me, this game is it's a mystery to me.
The number I'm looking at is 45.5. So just, 20-17 hits your under.
Yeah. And that's the kind of game that everybody thinks it's going to be. And that's the kind of game based on the way these teams have played that it should be. But I don't know. The weirdness of tomorrow with the coaching change has got me not knowing what I'm going to see.
Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Chris, you mentioned kind of the underwhelming play that Auburn has gotten at quarterback, whether it be Jackson Arnold, the transfer in from Oklahoma, or whoever else it might be. But it's odd to me because isn't the quarterback whisperer, the quarterback guru, kind of what Hugh Freeze had built his reputation on?
It had been, but I think that's more based on past than anything recent because, man, it just never worked with him.
That's nuts how you can just lose it all of a sudden like that. But
I don't know if that's the right way to put it, or just maybe, because when Hugh Freeze was running those up-tempo offenses at Memphis, Mon, I know you remember how good they were. And he had pedestrian talent at quarterback at times, but it worked for him because they were on the cutting edge of that thing. Now everybody's run tempo. You've seen a lot of teams go off tempo. I just feel like maybe whatever he could do back then, teams maybe figured out because it never popped at Auburn.
No, no, it did not. Um, Chris, we were saying while we were trying to get you back on, or while you were trying to get back on, I was saying I'm fascinated about Texas A&M at Missouri tomorrow.
Oh, I am too. I think a lot of people think A&M comes in and clocks them because of the quarterback situation. But man, when Missouri was here a couple of weekends ago, I thought Missouri played better after the quarterback injury. I thought Zollers was really able to challenge teams downfield more. I think they got some dudes in Coleman and Norfleet and Marquise Johnson that can make some plays, but it'd been a while since we've seen it. I'm really intrigued to see what we get tomorrow. Now, look, that is a big spot. You're asking a guy who's a true freshman making his first start to keep his team in the playoff hunt by beating, what's the number one team in the league right now. That's a big ask, but he's also got a defense on his side that can do some pretty heavy lifting too.
Well, and he's got a guy that he can turn and hand it to too.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it just feels like A&M is kind of in a place right now, and I don't know if it's biased because we've seen what Marcel Reed did at the high school level here and that kind of thing, and was a fantastic player at NBA, but it just feels like that kid rises to whatever occasion it is. Going back to him coming off the bench against LSU last year, it just feels like virtually everything that's been thrown at him, he's handled it well.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting here at 8-0. Like you said, the season changed when he got the job a year ago. He feels like he's getting better. The knock on them before the season was throwing accuracy. I know he's not going to lead the league in completion percentage, but when you can get the ball to Concepcion and Craver in the big chunks that he does, you can do it with a few less completions because you're not going to need them. When you get one that goes 80 to the house, who cares, right? And it just feels like that and the way that he can run, it's working very, very well for them right now.
Chris, Texas A&M has been on a run right here, but they've kind of caught some interesting spots with Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, and LSU, which obviously we know how that game ended on a number of different fronts. Feels like A&M, though, has not been truly and supremely tested outside of that fluky game versus Arkansas a couple weeks ago. And against a still solid defense, I am curious, does Missouri have the goods on defense to really just get by with a game manager type situation at quarterback and get the win maybe in your mind?
Yeah, I'm looking back. I guess the last time they've been tested was that Auburn game the last week of September, which they kind of owned it on the stat sheet, but it was closer than it should have been. They didn't punch in some opportunities. You had the 70-something yard fumble return in the last half of the last quarter that changed field positions, gave Auburn a score. But yeah, I think since then, feels like they've handled their business without a lot of issues.
Also, kind of while we're talking Texas A&M, Kurt Cignetti is obviously getting tons of praise, and rightfully so, for what he has done there at Indiana. But I'm curious, how much has Mike Elko been in terms of just completely revitalizing what seems like a completely left for dead Texas A&M program in short order?
Yeah, no, look, they still had some talent hanging around, so it wasn't a bare cupboard. But I think the culture felt like maybe it needed an overhaul. He just is a handle his business guy without a lot of drama, and I think that's what A&M needed.
I'm curious because it feels like they are pretty much a lock, barring something crazy happening. Missouri could be that first step, and then you got Texas looming at the end. But it feels like they're essentially a lock. On the flip side of that, Chris, you mentioned Missouri, Vanderbilt we've discussed. Is there any other team that's right there on the fringe that desperately needs either obviously to win out or get a few key results to go their way to maybe sneak in what feels like a loaded SEC field for the playoff this year?
Yeah, I mean, Texas and Oklahoma are right there. It feels like Ole Miss is getting there, A&M's getting there, Alabama's probably getting there. Georgia's got one more loss to play with. Yeah, and I don't think Mississippi State's a cakewalk this weekend, and of course Georgia Tech. But I mean, I think Oklahoma, Texas, and Vandy are the three to watch. I think Vanderbilt's going to have to run the table, and I do think, and I thought this too. Everybody thought I was crazy But I heard David Pollock say today, I think a 9-3 Texas might be your team that could get in. And especially if you are Vanderbilt, you don't want that head-to-head comparison with Texas, given that you took one there.
You mentioned Texas, and that's exactly what I'm thinking, right? They got Georgia and A&M still on the schedule, and it feels like if you get that win versus Georgia, who knows how high you could climb up, and you might buy yourself some buffer even if you do take a loss to A&M to close the regular season. I kind of like that logic there with Texas.
Yeah, and look, one of your losses was first game at the Horseshoe to Ohio State. You got a good win against Vandy. If they do go 9-3, then you've beaten the Georgia or an A&M. So that's at least a couple of good wins, and I feel like I've forgotten another one too. But yeah, I'm looking at the schedule to see. Of course, the loss to Florida is not going to help them. A win over Mississippi State's not bad. I mean, I think their thing is the committee. If Texas goes 9-3, it's going to have to decide what are we going to do with the team that beat Vanderbilt at home, and then either got Georgia or got A&M.
And based on, what they've told us, at least, they want to see hard games and hard scheduling. I mean, that's as difficult as you could ask opening up the year in Columbus versus the defending champs. So that kind of adds a little extra layer of credence to me, at least, with Texas, if they get one of those final two games.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Chris, did you ever think we would be talking about a Vanderbilt win being a good win?
Mo, it's a new world, my friend.
It clearly is. I mean, and if you are a Vanderbilt fan, as you are, to be fair, obviously you are the consummate professional, but I know where your allegiances lie. To see Vanderbilt at number 16 in the college football playoff rankings coming out of the box this week, I mean, not just you, but a lot of folks like you. What's that been like?
Somebody asked me about that this week. You cover a beat, you try to keep a professional distance, but people. You like people. There's people that you want to see do well. And I think that really applies to any team. I kind of like to see good people do well, no matter who they're coaching. And, for one, I think there's some good people in that program that I've gotten to know over the years. There's fans that have been on my boards for 20 plus years that haven't seen much. You go to games, you see the same people in the stands. They're a lot older now than they were then when I started this. And, and some of them have passed on since then. And I think when you see a season like this, I think the coolest thing is just to see people who the sport of football is just beaten down for the better part of their lives, have some fun with it for a change.
It's been cool. The excitement, the buzz, that kind of thing has been fun to watch develop this year. And, the unfortunate thing for Vanderbilt, I think, is as you look at this remainder of the schedule, as you talk about Texas and that kind of thing, there's not another win out there really for Vanderbilt to improve their resume with.
Yeah, and I think that's your concern, is that you could end the season going, best wins could be a 9-3 Missouri that didn't have a great schedule. Let me see if Missouri's got a chance to take another loss. Yeah, I mean, Missouri could go 8-4 with a loss to Oklahoma too. You could, the Tennessee win. This is presuming they get to 10-2. Beating Tennessee always means a lot if you're Vanderbilt. But let's say Tennessee goes to Florida and loses, and then Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt. A 7-5 Tennessee with the best win over what would it be? Mississippi State, I guess. The schedule has ended up being not as hard. I mean, not like it hasn't been tough, right? Auburn's not been great. I mean, Auburn's a scary game because Auburn could very well beat them tomorrow, but it's not a game that if you get, anybody's going to be bragging about, right? So I think they've got the issue of the schedule. Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Okay, September, their electric crowd at night. September, hadn't fired their coach. Felt like an accomplishment. Not so much right now. I think that's Vanderbilt's problem, is when you start to dig in on the wins and taking nothing away from them, but they don't really have the ring that maybe you thought they would before the season. Now, LSU could be the one that, maybe LSU goes down and beats Alabama and and runs the table, and all of a sudden you're one of 3 teams that beat LSU. Maybe there's some get back for all that there, but right now I think that's their issue.
That's the one game that I wanted to ask you about, Chris, before we let you get away. LSU and Alabama, and speaking of teams in disarray, obviously.
Yeah.
What does LSU take to Tuscaloosa this weekend?
Man, you could ask me about LSU. You could ask me about Florida. You could ask me that about Auburn. And I'm forgetting somebody, aren't I? Who else
Arkansas.
fired their coach? Arkansas. Well, I think we know the answer with that one. But those three are just like, I don't have any clue what is going to happen next with any of them. I really don't.
You when you said you feel like you know what's going to happen at Arkansas, you feel like Silverfield is going?
I don't know. No, I mean, I feel like I know what's going to happen in terms of like the way they play every week is the way.
Oh,
I meant
okay.
it.
Okay.
Sorry.
My
So
bad.
no, I don't know who's taking that job. I mean, Rhett Lashley was the hot name for a while, and then he upped it at SMU. So I haven't been locked in on that one lately. I mean, but I mean that would seem to make a lot of sense.
It would. Have you been so busy with football that you've not quite transitioned into basketball yet?
I think that's a fair way to put it. I've watched some, followed box scores some, but I mean, there's so much going on with football, with coaching changes, with playoff stuff. I mean, the season right now is as eventful as it's ever been.
Real quick, while we've got you, just a couple of weeks ago, there were whispers about Diego Pavia crashing the Heisman party, but now it seems like Mendoza and Ty Simpson are taking turns and alternating who's going to be your favorite. What's your gut tell you, whether it's someone outside the SEC or not, Chris, as far as either who can make the finalist list there and get the invite to NYC, or who maybe wins it in your mind if there is somebody from this league?
I mean, it feels like it's wide open. You have so many of the great on great games coming, which happens a lot during the season. I think to me, there's a lot of people that you can probably put in that discussion, and maybe even some guys on the fringe of that discussion. I mean, I don't know what Gunnar Stockton's odds are, but what if he goes out and Georgia wins out, and he puts up a monster game against Texas and Georgia Tech? I mean, I just think nobody to me is separated from the pack. And if somebody goes these last 3 or 4 weeks and just completely balls out, then maybe that's your guy. But I mean, right? I mean, maybe Mendoza's your guy just because Indiana's been so dominant. But there's a lot of ball to play.
Odds at the moment, Julian Sane is your favorite. It feels like he may just benefit. Him versus Mendoza could be a fun Heisman knockout game, so to speak, when those two teams meet, if that's the case. But then Ty Simpson, Marcel Reed, Gunnar Stockton sitting there at 22-1, and they're still hanging 25-1 for Chambliss. It feels like he lost his moment a couple of weeks ago, but 25-1. I've spent money on worse things than a 25-1 ticket on that guy.
Yeah, I do wonder once they look under the hood and say, hey, man, this guy wasn't even his team starting quarterback to start the year and didn't get it till a few games in. Like, if you want to have something to hold against the guy, that and their schedule wasn't the toughest. And look, honest to God, I don't know who deserved it. If you said right now, rank your top 10 SEC quarterbacks, I'd be scared to do it because I'd have somebody at 8 that everybody else would think would be 3. Or something like that, and I mean, it's just asking to get yelled at, which I'm not a big fan of at this stage of my life. But my point is, all kidding aside, like I think there's so much parity in football, and I think you see a lot of it at the quarterback position and in the Heisman race too.
And to that point, Chris, it does feel like just who gets hot over these last 4 games, whether it's recency bias or not, or we just finally start really. To use your phrase, looking under the hood on some of these guys, it feels like the hottest player or the team that wins the biggest games down this little 4-week stretch here may be your winner.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, how do you play in big games that really matter? And to me, I've become less and less of a stat guy. I look more at like, what did you do in a game? A guy may have 200 yards of total offense, but make the plays at the right time against an Ohio State rather than have, 500 against Arkansas in a shootout. I mean, to me, it is what do you do to win the big games when you have a chance? And that's where I that's where I'm going to be looking. If you ask me, like who's deserving of this when it's all over, that's my criteria.
And it feels like, because it's so wide open from a quarterback standpoint, Chris and Wade, that this would be the year or a year for a running back, but there's no running back out there. There's not a
Jeremiah Love, ladies and gentlemen, 40-1. David Wilson, come on down. I could be compelled to throw some bucks on that young man as well.
Well, and if you want a pet peeve,
if you wanted to go that route,
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but here's where I've always just gotten frustrated. Like, how many years is an offensive tackle the first pick of the draft, or a rush end, or somebody like a defensive player? Like, we always give it to, in some order, a quarterback or a running back, or maybe, if they are just incredible, a receiver. But like, I thought Sue at Nebraska should have won the Heisman the year that he did. My wife's a Nebraska grad. I watched all their games. Like, he dominated. Like, go back and look at his stat line. Like, he had almost 100 tackles for a defensive tackle. That never happens. I mean, God forbid we pick a left tackle. And I'm not even going to sit here and tell you I'm qualified to judge that. But it just has always kind of been wild to me that, like, your number one pick in the NFL draft is all these things, and yet the pool of guys we select for the Heisman is really a very narrow set of players.
Yeah, I didn't see many ballots with Abdul Carter last year. Right?
But maybe he should have been there, right?
Yeah. To the Sue point, absolutely. I'm with you. We should have got a little more love for Sue back in the day. One-man wrecking crew.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chris, as always, we appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you again soon, man. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chris.
You. Oh, hold up. Is he still there? Wait, Mark.
Hey.
Chris, is that a BC Lions?
Yeah.
Logo?
Yeah. Good job. You're the first one that's ever guessed that.
Little Canadian football. Wow. Nice.
My nephew is a starting wide receiver for them, and he's got a playoff game Saturday night that's going to divide my attention a little bit from my job.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Awesome. We appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Thanks.
See ya.
All right. Let's take our final break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Come back. It's time for the Wonder Slate. Wade and I will give you our 10 weekend winners in college football. Stick around.
The winning just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid-Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of the weekend warm-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That means it's time for the Wonder Slate. Wade and I will give you our 10 college football weekend winners. So, with no further ado, Mr. Neely, the floor is yours.
Buckle up, boys and girls. It's going to be a fun week 11. Where has the time gone, ladies and gentlemen? We are in deep into the month of November, and the Wonder Slate is upon us yet again. A chance for 10 weekly winners here. All of our odds brought to you by our friends at Circa Sportsbook and the fine folks at the Mint Gaming Hall. Check them out at Kentucky Downs right across the border. We start with a Friday night game, Mo. You and I will both be off tonight thanks to Mother Nature and thanks to the fact all of our teams, except for Liberty Creek, looking at you, decided to play last night. So with that being said, we get to watch Tulane at Memphis. Memphis is a 3.5-point favorite. This is a big American game showdown on ESPN, Mo, and it is a big game for two coaches that might not be at their respective schools next year.
It is a big game for two coaches that might not be at their respective teams. And it's a big game just for Group of 5 postseason play here. And I like the Tigers. You know, Tulane slipping up to UTSA a couple of weeks ago, and then UTSA getting thumped last weekend. You know, I'm going to go with the Tigers, especially at home.
Yeah, everything about this tells me that something's up, but I'm still taking Memphis. I'm not bold enough to go against the Tigers. Playing at home, that place will be electric tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Give me Memphis as well. Second game as we kick off our Saturday slate. We go to the Big Ten, number 2, Indiana. We just talked about them with our good friend Chris Lee. They are favored by 14.5 at Penn State. The game is set for an 11 a.m. kickoff, and you can see it on Fox.
You know, at this point, I think I would take Indiana if you doubled that, to be honest. I think Penn State's kind of in a little disarray, obviously. And I think Signetti's obviously trying to prove a point whenever the opportunity presents itself. And going to Happy Valley would certainly be said opportunity. Give me the Hoosiers.
Yep, I'm taking the Hoosiers as well. And for what you just said, Indiana will run up the score as often as they can. You don't need to do that, Kurt. You're number 2 in the country. You're going to be just fine. You don't need to just pummel Penn State like that, but I think they will. Penn State can't score. Talked about it last week versus Ohio State, and they got the benefit of a fumble that gave them a short field and a touchdown. Otherwise, they might not have put up many points at all. So give me the Hoosiers in that one as well, covering the 14.5. 11 a.m. on ESPN, we got Georgia. Yes, Georgia going down to Mississippi State. Stark Vegas will be the location, and the Bulldogs in this one, Mo, are favored by 9.5.
Man, well, I bragged on Mississippi State, and they bit me here not too long ago. I think Georgia goes into Starkville and takes care of business. You know, the only thing is Georgia hasn't necessarily been winning a whole lot of style points. They've just kind of been winning, so it gives me a little pause with that number, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the visiting Bulldogs against the host Bulldogs to cover.
Yeah, we could say we're going to take the Bulldogs either way and just let the viewers determine who we're going to. I'll go with Mississippi State in this one. Georgia's defense is still not that Death Star defense that we saw from a couple of years ago, and I think that allows Mississippi State to kind of slip in and maybe only lose by 8 or so. I think Georgia does take care of business. Didn't necessarily look the greatest at any point really until the very end versus Florida last week, but I do think Mississippi State finds a way to cover this one. Got another 11 a.m. game. Biggest game in terms of ranked matchups on the slate this week as number 7 BYU goes to number 8 Texas Tech. The line is Tech minus 10.5, Mo.
Man, they are at home, but you know, BYU has been playing some really good ball, and the Big 12 is as unpredictable as anything. I think I'm going to go with BYU to cover 10.5.
I'm taking Tech on this one just because I can't figure out BYU. I really can't figure out Texas Tech either. But when you're talking about an undefeated team coming in and they're a 10.5-point underdog, that screams a little something's up to me. I'm going to take Tech in this one. Hope it's a good game. Should be fun. Again, best matchup in terms of ranked teams on the slate this week. Next up, we go into the afternoon slate, 2:30 on ABC. The game we talked a lot about with Chris a moment ago. Texas A&M is favored by 6.5 at number 22, Missouri.
I like A&M by about a touchdown. I think that's a pretty good number. Give me the Aggies on the road here.
This is going to be a fun game. I'm taking Mizzou because of their defense to keep this game close. Give me like 24-20 Texas A&M finds a way to win, but I like Missouri to cover in this game. Should be fun. And Texas A&M, if they can win this game, man, they're right in the mix with running the table. Who saw that coming at the start of the season? Speaking of who saw that coming, Iowa can crash the playoff picture here with a win if they can somehow stun number 9 Oregon, who's coming to Kinnick this weekend. Mo, it's a 2:30 game, and you can see it on CBS. Oregon's favored by 6.5.
Yeah, I don't think Iowa's crashing the party with this win. I don't know what else they've got left, but no, I think Oregon takes care of business in this one. I don't think this one's far enough away from home for Oregon to have an issue with. Give me the Ducks.
Oregon did look mighty nice going all the way over to Penn State a couple weeks ago, back when Penn State was, well, Penn State. But there's something in the air at Kinnick. And, we'll get the visuals of the great tradition. And, it'll be a fun matchup. Got to go back to 2017 when they stunned Ohio State. I don't think they win this game, but I like Iowa to cover 6.5. Final score 5-3, maybe. This is the type of game Iowa wants in this one right here. I think Oregon wins, but Iowa covers. I'm taking the Hawkeyes in this one. 3 o'clock, still in that afternoon window. SEC Network will be your destination for Auburn at number 16 Vanderbilt, and the Doors are favored by 6.5.
There was talk that one of the reasons Auburn got rid of Hugh Freeze was so he wouldn't have to lose to Diego Pavia yet again. Between his Liberty loss, his Auburn loss when Diego was at New Mexico State, and last year. But regardless, I think the Commodores get back on the winning track here, and I think they cover 6.5. We're seeing that line a lot, 6.5. But give me the Commodores to cover this one.
Yeah, I like a lot about Auburn this week, and man, this has a classic letdown spot written all over it for Vanderbilt, but I'm not going to give up on Pavia. I think he finds a way to get Vanderbilt to the cover this week and keep the faintest of playoff hopes alive for the folks on West End. Give me the Doors by 6.5. Up next, how about this, Mo? We talked last week about Ohio State and Penn State and how it was the preseason game of the year. The other preseason game of the year in the ACC, at least, was supposed to be Florida State at Clemson. It was going to be big-time college football production. Game day was going to be there. It would be on ABC, primetime. Well, it is primetime, but it's on the ACC network. We got Florida State and Clemson relegated to the ACC network when they do battle. Both are unranked, but Clemson is favored by 2.5.
This one could easily be a loser leave town in terms of your coaches as well. I want to take Florida State, but man, I can't do it. Give me Clemson.
Yeah, I don't like to do it either, but I think Clemson's got a little bit of random pride. They still fancy themselves maybe as the best 3-5 team in all of college football. Props to FanDuel, by the way, who paid out my over-under on Clemson 9.5 wins finally this week. I've been sitting on that ticket for like a month and a half waiting to collect my winnings, but they finally paid me. I think Clemson finds a way to win. This is going to be an ugly game, and again, it's on the ACC network, not nationally televised like we all thought at the beginning of the season. LSU, speaking of that Clemson game at the start of the year, Mo, LSU's fallen on hard times, but do they get a little bounce back when they go to Alabama? The number 4 ranked Crimson Tide are favored by 10.5 in this 6:30 kickoff.
They do not get a little bounce back. I think this is the one where, they talk about Heisman moments, and this one may be the one for Ty Simpson right here. Give me the Tide.
Yeah, taking the Tide as well. I like, the idea of a bounce back in terms of morale. The only thing that you could maybe argue is they hated Brian Kelly so much that they will do anything that they can to go out and win this game or cover this game. That's all well and good, but their offense has not been good at all. I don't know that you could just magically get that much better on offense after you've been so horrible to start the year. Give me the Tide by 10.5 in this one as they continue to march to the college football playoff. Finally, Navy at Notre Dame. The line is 27.5 in the 6:30 kickoff on NBC.
Man, that's a lot of points. Notre Dame's awfully good. Give me the Irish.
Notre Dame covers. They cakewalk Navy's bid, unfortunately, for the college football playoff comes to an end.
There we go. That is your Wonder Slate. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see you all Monday at 2 o'clock. Have a great weekend.